Welcome back to the deep dive. We are, as always, taking the source material you've provided us, a really powerful stack of research this time, and we're forging a shortcut for you to get genuinely well-informed.
And today's topic is a big one. It's something that I think sits right at the intersection of, psychology, our daily behaviors, and of course, economics.
Absolutely. We're talking about a blueprint for wealth creation, but not the one you might think. We're looking at something much more fundamental.
Yeah. It's often ignored, actually.
Exactly. So the source materials we put together for you this week, they look deceptively simple on the surface. They lay out this really clear, actionable guide, and it's built around just 10 foundational habits.
And they're described not as these, complex financial maneuvers, but as easy steps, things that can change your whole trajectory, but just step by step.
Right. So if you came here today looking for, I don't know, complex trading algorithms or some secret insider tips, you've probably come to the wrong place.
And that's a good thing, a really good thing.
It is, because what we're really dealing with here is the mastery of self. And that, at the end of the day, is what dictates your financial mastery.
It's the operating system, not the software.
That's a great way to put it. So our mission today is to treat these 10 habits as a kind of strategic guide. We're going to peel back the layers, analyze the why behind them, the psychology.
The behavioral science that makes these little micro actions actually work. We want to synthesize what looks like a simple list into a powerful and, more importantly, a sustainable strategy.
Okay, let's unpack this. 10 simple habits to become rich. I mean, that headline alone, it invites a lot of skepticism, right? We're kind of programmed to believe that success has to be complicated.
And that skepticism is, it's valid, but I think it's often misplaced. What's so fascinating in the sources here is that the simplicity, that's the whole point.
How so?
Well, complexity often leads to paralysis, to inaction. The true genius of these habits is that they don't require any special knowledge. You don't need a huge amount of starting capital.
They just require consistency.
That's it, consistency. The people who are truly wealthy, they get that dramatic long-term change, is really just the cumulative result of all these small, almost boring daily actions.
So we're moving beyond just a checklist.
Way beyond. We're trying to understand the operating system, like I said, that lets you execute consistently day in and day out.
That distinction is crucial. It's not about finding a magic trick. It's about building a kind of mechanical discipline.
Yeah.
So we're going to break these 10 habits into 4 logical phases. And we're going to start where all success has to begin, with establishing absolute control over what you already have.
Control is the prerequisite for any kind of growth. I mean, you can't build a skyscraper on quicksand, right?
Right.
Before we even talk about earning more or investing, we have to seal the leaks. We have to build the foundation.
Right.
So the first 3 habits we're going to analyze, that's habits 1, 2, and 5. They're all about establishing that non-negotiable mechanical discipline over your cash flow.
Okay, so let's start with habit 1. This really is the cornerstone. Save a little every day. The power of consistency. And the source material is very, very clear on this. The amount you save is secondary.
Almost irrelevant at the start.
It's a habit itself. We're talking, saving $1, 10 taka, just one single coin every day. So my question is, why is the act of daily saving, even if the amount is trivial, why is that so important for our long-term psychological conditioning?
It's all about what the sources are, I think, implicitly calling neural programming. Think of saving a single coin as like one tiny rep in a mental gym.
Okay.
If you tell someone, okay, you have to start saving $500 a month, what happens? They immediately feel resistance, right? Anxiety. It's too big a lift.
Yeah, decision fatigue. You just shut down.
Exactly. But saving one coin, that requires zero cognitive load. The goal isn't the money, it's to build a reward loop in your brain around the act of saving.
A reward loop.
Yeah. When you save that tiny amount, you get a small daily win. Your brain registers it. I prioritize my future self. I did the thing I said I would do. And that feeling of competence, of control, that's the real reward, not the dollar.
So after a week, you realize, hey, I can do this. After a month, it's just automatic.
Yeah, right. The barrier to entry is so incredibly low that failure almost requires more effort than success, which is why it's the perfect first habit. It removes all the intimidation.
The sources also mention specific methods, like using a physical box, or a bank account, or a small jar. Is that physical act of separating the money, is that part of the programming too?
Oh, absolutely. The tangibility of it is key. The physical action of putting a coin in a jar or executing that tiny transfer, it solidifies the commitment. It creates a ritual.
So it's not just an abstract idea anymore.
No, it moves saving from an abstract concept into a physical reality. So when the source says this small amount becomes a big amount after many months, yes, obviously that's the mechanical truth of compounding, but the deeper psychological truth is the lesson it's teaching you.
And what's that lesson?
I keep my money. I don't waste it.
That's powerful. That is the mindset of ownership, of control. It's a declaration that your money is flowing toward your future self, not just, passively draining away. It's a declaration of authority.
And if you really trace this mindset of rich people that the source mentions, it all starts with paying yourself first.
Yeah.
You are literally teaching your subconscious that you are the most important person to pay.
As opposed to waiting until the end of the month and saving what's left over.
Which defines saving as an afterthought, an optional extra. But saving first, even if it's just a tiny amount, establishes your authority over every single transaction that follows. And that foundational psychological victory, it's required for all the other 9 habits to even have a chance of working.
Okay, that groundwork is solid. So now we move from accumulation, from just putting money aside, to management. And that brings us to habit 2. Spend less than you earn. The fundamental rule.
The big one.
It sounds like basic math, right? But we all know this is where the vast majority of people, they fail. They get caught in that cycle of buying things they don't need. The source mentions new phones, shoes, clothes, expensive fast food.
Well, it's the Achilles heel of modern finance.
Yeah.
Because you're pitting basic arithmetic against these incredibly powerful forces.
Like what?
Social signaling, for one, and instant gratification. Our entire world is basically designed to trigger a dopamine release through consumption. And those items you listed, fast food, no clothes, they're high-frequency, low-utility purchases.
They give you that immediate emotional hit.
A short-term status boost, maybe, but it comes at the direct expense of your long-term wealth.
So to combat that powerful, often, unconscious impulse, the source provides a brilliant, very practical tactic. The 10-second delay rule. Just wait 10 seconds before buying something. Think critically. This sounds almost ridiculously simple. How can 10 seconds actually stop a purchase?
It is a stroke of behavioral genius because what it does is it introduces a necessary friction point.
A friction point.
Yeah. Impulsive buying operates in the emotional reactive part of your brain. That 10-second delay. It's just enough time for the rational executive function part of your brain to catch up. The part that remembers your goals from habit 4. It breaks the automatic spending loop. It's a circuit breaker.
And during that 10-second pause, the source suggests you ask yourself 3 internal questions, the kind of audit that rich people ask. Let's detail these because I think they're an amazing filter.
Yeah, they're fantastic. The 3 key questions are, 1, do I really need this? 2, will this help my life? And the third one is this good for my future?
And notice that progression. You pointed this out before we started. The first question is all about immediate utility.
Right. Do I need it right now?
The second one is about functionality, it's value.
Yeah.
But that third one, is this good for my future? That's the ultimate long-term filter, isn't it?
Exactly. The third question forces you to adopt a long-term perspective. It frames every single transaction as an investment, either a positive one or a negative one in your future self.
And most impulse buys would fail that third test spectacularly.
Oh, completely. If you're buying a $10 item just for a fleeting mood boost, the answer is a hard no. It's actively detrimental to your future. So by consistently applying these 3 filters, your spending transforms from an emotional release into a calculated, deliberate decision. And that instantly reinforces habit 1.
The cumulative savings from stopping just one of those daily impulse buys, it could be staggering over a year.
A lot of money. Which brings us perfectly to the final piece in this whole control puzzle. That's habit 5. Write down your expenses, the awareness catalyst.
The source calls this one simple, but very powerful. And I have to wonder, does this advice feel a little outdated now? In the age of digital banking and all these automatic tracking apps, why does the source insist on a small physical notebook, writing down every single expense?
That's a fantastic question, and it goes right to the heart of the psychological impact. Apps are convenient, sure, but they lack the same neurological engagement, the physical act of writing, especially for the small things like a tea, a biscuit, a bus ticket, that forces a manual engagement with the purchase.
You're creating a sensory and motor memory of it.
You are, and this counteracts what behavioral economists call the insignificance bias.
The insignificance bias.
Yeah.
That's where our brain just ignores small transactions because they feel, well, inconsequential on their own.
Precisely. We remember the big bills, right? The rent, the car payment, but it's that constant stream of small leaks, the microtransactions, that drain the reservoir without us ever noticing.
So when you manually write down that $5 coffee,
You are forced to mentally process that $5 left your possession and went toward a fleeting pleasure. When it's just a tap of a card or your phone, it's often invisible, it's abstracted, it doesn't feel real.
and the source says the big revelation comes after just 1 week. You look at the notebook, you see where the money is actually going, and you're surprised. You spent way too much on snacks or transportation.
That surprise is the catalyst for change. Seeing the hard data on paper in your own handwriting moves the expense from an abstract memory to a concrete, undeniable fact. It aggregates all those tiny transactions into what is often a horrifyingly large sum.
I can imagine.
If you see that your daily snack habit is costing you $300 a month, the consequence of that is suddenly impossible to ignore. And the source says that seeing this reality on paper makes you more careful. I mean, awareness is the absolute precursor to correction. Without that transparent tracking, you're basically steering a ship blindfolded.
So part 1 really establishes the bedrock. You've got daily savings with habit 1, friction against impulse buying with habit 2, and total transparency on where your money goes with habit 5. Now that we've, stopped the bleeding, we need to focus on growth.
Exactly. You can only save your way to basic stability. True wealth creation requires increasing the numerator, your income. And that has to start with increasing your personal value.
This is the shift from defense to offense. And habit 3 is profound. Learn something new every week. A learning superpower. This immediately redefines knowledge, not as a hobby, but as an explicit financial strategy.
It's the ultimate high-leverage activity. The source gives us the core economic equation here, and it's simple. The more you learn, the more you can earn. And that's not just a motivational quote, it's a fundamental market truth.
So your income is directly tied to the value you can provide.
Right. And value is a function of the scarcity and the utility of your skills. So if you are consistently learning a valuable skill, you are, by definition, increasing your market rate over time.
And the beauty here is the wide range of knowledge sources it suggests is very democratic. Books, YouTube videos, podcasts, online courses, even just talking to smart people. It's emphasizing that this learning doesn't have to be expensive or formal.
It just underscores that curiosity is the engine. The key is that consistent weekly acquisition of knowledge. If you just dedicate a small, consistent amount of time to learning a high-value skill every single week, the compounding effect of that knowledge over 6 months, a year, 5 years, it's transformative.
You move from being a generalist
to acquiring specialized knowledge that commands a premium in the marketplace.
The source lists some specific skills that it calls highly strategic and market relevant. Let's go through them. English speaking, design, marketing, money management, and communication. Why these particular skills? What makes them so high leverage?
Well, they're what I'd call commercialization and integration skills. Think about it. English speaking immediately opens up access to global markets and a world of premium information.
Okay, that makes sense.
Design and marketing are the skills you need to sell anything, whether it's a product or your own services. They're the commercial interface with the world. Money management is your internal operating system. And communication. Communication is the oil that makes it all run.
It lets you connect, negotiate, collaborate.
It makes all your other technical skills actually functional in the real world.
The source sums up the value proposition perfectly. It says learning a new skill every week leads to higher value, increased trust, more people wanting to work with you, and as a result, higher pay. Learning, it says, builds your future.
And it shifts your professional identity. You stop being an employee defined by a list of tasks, and you become an expert defined by the unique value you can create. This practice also, it trains your brain for adaptability, which is just crucial in the economy we live in now. You're consciously investing in the one asset that nobody can ever take away from you.
Your own knowledge base.
Exactly.
Okay, so if habit 3 is about increasing our internal value, our potential, then habit 6 is the immediate practical application of that potential. Start a small side job.
Sure.
The income accelerator. The source is really clear here. If your goal is to get rich faster, you need more income.
This is the key transition. It's moving from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. A main job, it provides stability, sure, but a side job provides acceleration. It provides diversification of risk, and it provides the fuel you need to start building investments.
The sources lay out what they call the wealth chain, which is the critical link here.
It's a really important concept.
Let's detail that chain again because it shows you, the listener, the exact pathway. It goes, extra money becomes savings, savings become investments, and investments make you rich.
And the side job is the raw input that accelerates that entire chain. The extra income you generate, which is typically discretionary money since your main job is covering your core expenses, it can bypass the whole consumption cycle.
And go directly into savings from habit 1.
Right, which then jumpstarts the investment process.
The examples provided for side jobs are excellent. They're all low capital, high skill things. Selling simple products online, teaching basic English, cooking and selling food, editing videos.
Freelancing, helping with computer work, repairing things, opening a small service.
Notice how almost all of those are direct applications of the skills we just listed in Habit 3.
That's the self-reinforcing feedback loop. It's so powerful. If you learned video editing in Habit 3, you can start freelancing with it in Habit 6. If you improved your communication and English skills, you can start teaching.
So the side job isn't just about money.
Not at all. The practical experience you get in the side job makes you better at the skill, which increases your value even more, which leads to more income, which gives you more fuel for the investment chain. It's a mechanism for immediate, tangible monetization of your skills.
So Part 2 gives us the mandate. Perpetually increase our capacity through learning with Habit 3, and then immediately activate that capacity to generate more capital with Habit 6. But now we need the architecture and the energy to sustain all this effort.
We do, because without a clear plan and the physical energy to execute it, that engine of value creation is just going to sputter out, or worse, it'll just wander off course completely.
Let's look at the structure first. Habit 4, set clear many goals. The traveler's map. This is the intellectual infrastructure, right? If the saving habits are the wheels, the goals are the steering wheel and the map.
That's a great metaphor. The source uses a similar one. Rich people don't walk without a direction. Without a clear destination, any path will do, and you just end up wasting precious energy and resources drifting around.
So the goal provides the structure you need to prioritize your daily actions. It brings intentionality to everything we talked about in Part 1 and Part 2.
Exactly.
Now, most people, I think, fail at setting goals because they start too big. They set one massive, daunting finish line that's years away. How does this traveler's map idea address that failure point?
By emphasizing variety and scale. The goals the source suggests range from the very immediate to the long term, and that ensures you always have momentum.
So you have small, quick win goals like, I want to save $50 this month.
Right, and then you have more strategic goals like, I want to start a small business this year. And you also have these foundational, process-based goals like, I want to learn one new skill this week.
So the small goals give you that immediate gratification. They reinforce the behavior and build confidence.
They prove the process is working. And the larger goals, they provide the long-term motivation, the purpose for all the effort you're putting into Habit 6. It's a balanced approach that prevents you from feeling overwhelmed.
But the goals are useless if they're just, intentions floating around in your head. The source outlines a simple but crucial reinforcement tactic. Write the goal on paper and put it on a wall or a table. Why is that visual external commitment so powerful?
This taps directly into our brain's reticular activating system, or RAS. When you write down that goal and you place it in your daily visual field, you are commanding your brain to prioritize information related to achieving that goal.
So it's not just a fleeting thought anymore.
No, it's an externalized commitment. That constant, low-level reminder is what ensures, as the source calls it, slow but consistent movement towards it. It acts as that traveler's map, constantly reminding you of the correct direction and helping you filter out distractions.
So you're way less likely to violate Habit 2 and make an impulse purchase.
If your goal to save for a side business from Habit 4 is literally staring you in the face, it links the micro actions to the macro objective.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because a perfect map and a clear direction are useless if the traveler is exhausted. We move to Habit 7. Stay healthy, the main tool for success. The source makes an explicit, undeniable link between your health and your wealth.
This is, and I would argue this, perhaps the highest leverage habit on the entire list. The source rightly identifies your body and your mind as your main tool for success. If that tool is dull, everything else is compromised.
The cost of poor health isn't just future medical bills.
No, it's immediate productivity loss. And critically, it's cognitive degradation. If you are tired, sick, or stressed, the analysis shows you cannot work well, you cannot think well, and crucially, you cannot earn well.
And trying to enforce the discipline of habits 1 and 2, saving and delaying gratification while you're running on empty, that feels like a losing battle.
It is. You're fighting a losing battle due to something called ego depletion.
Tell us more about that. How does being tired actually affect our financial discipline?
Ego depletion is this idea that our mental energy, our willpower that we need for self-control, it's a finite resource. It gets depleted throughout the day. So if you're sleep deprived or constantly stressed or running on poor nutrition, your reserve of willpower is already drained before lunchtime.
And a drained mind defaults to.
Instant gratification. It simply lacks the capacity to enforce that 10-second delay rule from habit 2, or to do the tedious but necessary work of writing down every expense from habit 5.
So poor health is a direct saboteur of your financial habits. It weakens the mental muscle you need for discipline.
Absolutely. So by prioritizing health, you are proactively increasing your willpower reserve. And that makes sticking to all the other 9 habits dramatically easier. The source gives 7 specific actionable areas of focus for healthcare, which we should detail. They're the stress busters.
Okay, let's list them. Sleep 7 to 8 hours, drink enough water, eat simple and clean food, move your body, take breaks, and breathe deeply.
These are all direct countermeasures to stress and to cognitive fog. Quality sleep repairs the mind. It restores that willpower reserve. Proper nutrition and hydration ensure you have consistent energy, preventing those dips that trigger cravings and impulsive choices.
And movement and deep breathing.
They actively manage your cortisol levels. High cortisol, the stress hormone, is directly linked to risk-seeking behavior and emotional spending. It creates huge volatility in your financial life.
So, by ensuring a strong body, you ensure a clear mind. And the source makes that explicit, powerful link. A clear mind makes better decisions about money. It really is the highest leverage activity you can do.
It is the foundation. If you're making better, non-impulsive decisions about how you spend your time, your energy, and your money, every other habit becomes self-sustaining. Health is the critical prerequisite for high-quality thinking and for sustained effort over the long term.
Which brings us to the final section. And this is, I think, the most challenging part of the whole journey. It's about the mental fortitude you need to keep the machine running when the results aren't immediately visible.
This is where the behavioral aspects really test that foundation you've built. Most people quit. They quit once the novelty wears off, or when they hit the inevitable roadblocks. So habits 8, 9, and 10. They address the psychological endurance you need to realize long-term wealth.
Let's start with habit 8. This is the inconvenient truth that clashes with so many cultural expectations. Be patient. The slow growth reality. If the first 7 habits set up the process, patience is the fuel you need to stay in the game.
This is the hardest habit for so many people because it fights against our innate desire for immediate feedback. The core truth, according to the source, is that success, money, a rich life, it all grows slowly. We need to think about financial and skill growth not as a straight line, but more like a J-curve or a hockey stick shape.
That J-curve visualization is perfect. You put in a massive amount of effort at the beginning, but the returns look flat and discouraging for a long, long time.
Exactly. The initial effort yields almost no observable results, and that's demoralizing. People assume their strategy is wrong or they're not smart enough. And the source highlights the common mistakes people make. Giving up after 1 week, quitting after one small problem, wanting fast results.
And all those mistakes are rooted in impatience and expecting this linear, rapid progress that just doesn't exist in the real world.
Right. Rich people, on the other hand, the source says they understand patience. They get that they're building an exponential curve, so they stay calm. They continue their habits, the daily saving, the weekly learning, and they keep trying, even when life is hard.
So patience is really the commitment to showing up during that long, unexciting, flat part of the curve at the beginning.
It's trusting that the compounded effort will eventually kick in and create those massive results later on.
The key mantra from the source sums it up perfectly. Small steps every day create big results in the future. It reframes the whole effort from a short sprint to a perpetual low-intensity marathon.
And that endurance is critical, especially when you face setbacks. Now, if impatience causes us to stop moving forward, Habit 9 addresses the force that actively drags us backward and just crushes our momentum. Avoid debt, the heavy chain.
The source uses such a powerful, almost visceral metaphor here. Debt is described as a heavy chain that pulls you down, takes your money every month, and creates stress.
That metaphor really captures the insidious nature of debt, especially for non-essential items. Debt isn't just a number on a balance sheet, it is a behavioral constraint. It consumes the very resources that your saving and side job habits are generating.
So when you borrow money for things that go down in value like clothes or an expensive vacation,
You are essentially committing your future earnings to pay for your past consumption.
the source's advice for prevention is vital. Try not to borrow money for non-essential items. Try to use cash, not loans. It's clear that consumer debt is the direct opposite of the saving mindset from habit 1.
It completely reverses the flow of that wealth chain. Instead of your extra money becoming savings, it becomes interest payments to someone else. Debt significantly slows your growth, and maybe even worse, it actively generates stress. And that chronic stress, it impacts your cognitive function.
So debt makes it harder to maintain habit 7, your health, and habit 2, your discipline.
It's a vicious cycle.
So what about people who are already carrying that heavy chain? The source advises making a plan and just paying a little every month until it is gone.
And that's the practical recovery plan. Even a small, consistent repayment effort, it adheres to the same principle as habit 1. Slow, consistent steps forward. The ultimate benefit is about resource allocation. Being freed from debt, as the source puts it, allows all the momentum you've generated from the other habits to be reinvested back into your growth engine, instead of being diverted to service that chain.
It shifts your whole financial posture from being reactive to being proactive.
And that ensures longevity in this game.
Finally, we arrive at habit 10. And the source calls this the strongest tool of all. The one that provides the psychological resilience you need to sustain the other 9. Think positive and believe in yourself.
This is the ultimate synthesis of the entire strategy, because without this foundational belief system, the moment that heavy chain feels too heavy from habit 9 or your patience runs out in habit 8, the entire structure just collapses.
The source describes a positive causal loop here. It goes, positive thinking leads to feeling stronger, which leads to taking better action, which leads to getting better results.
And that frame, it shifts positive thinking away from just, fluffy motivation into a genuine, actionable psychological strategy. A strategy that increases your overall resilience and your ability to stick to the plan.
It gives you the confidence you need to take the difficult steps.
Exactly. Think about habit 6, starting a side job. That requires a belief that your skills are valuable and that you're not going to fail. Or habit 4, writing down ambitious goals. That requires the belief that they're actually achievable.
The source gives some specific, powerful affirmations. I can improve my life. I can become rich. I can learn new skills. I can change my future. How do these specific phrases help reprogram the brain for consistency?
Well, these affirmations are what I would call behavior anchors. They are designed to directly challenge the limiting beliefs that lead to procrastination or quitting. When you tell yourself, I can learn new skills, you are priming your mind to go find educational resources for habit 3, rather than just defaulting to passive entertainment.
So positive thinking isn't magic.
No, the source is clear. It's a mindset that helps you stay focused and confident. In essence, habit 10 is what supplies the emotional resilience and the motivational fuel for consistency. If you believe you can endure that slow growth from habit 8, you will trust the process. And that belief is what allows all the mechanical habits to persist long enough for the magic of compounding, both financial and intellectual, to finally take hold.
That is a phenomenal interconnected roadmap. We've moved from the fundamentals of financial control through the mechanics of value creation into the structural elements of direction and health, and then finally anchored everything with endurance and a positive, resilient mindset.
It demonstrates, I think, without a doubt, that sustained wealth creation is ultimately a self-improvement program that's just masquerading as a financial strategy. The path is step by step, but the rewards, they're exponential.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've taken these 10 simple habits, and I hope we've demonstrated how each one, when you consistently apply it, builds upon the others to create this massive, self-reinforcing engine for your own wealth and success.
The structure is really clear. You've got control from habits 1, 2, and 5, which establishes the foundational arithmetic. Then value creation from habits 3 and 6, which increases your capacity and your income. And finally, sustained momentum and mindset, all the rest, which provides the endurance and the high-quality decision-making you need to stay in the game long enough to win.
The central theme is undeniable. Becoming rich is not about luck. It's about small habits implemented every day, every week, every month.
The greatest danger for you now is probably feeling overwhelmed by this list of 10, but the strength of the source material is its encouragement. It says, do not try to master all 10 today. Start with just one habit today. Maybe it's saving one coin, or maybe it's just applying the 10-second rule once. Then once that becomes automatic, add another. The process has to be step by step.
Let's leave you with this final provocative thought, something that ties together the elements of health, learning, and patience. The source materials clearly suggest that your clear mind, which you get through health from habit 7, is what makes better money decisions. So if success is built slowly, as we learned in habit 8, on a foundation of learning from habit 3, how might you redefine better decisions today to include investing in knowledge over just, transient material possessions?
What small skill can you commit to starting right now? Not necessarily for a side job yet, but purely to build future, enduring value for yourself.
Ask the question.
Because if you truly internalize that your mind is your main tool and that learning is the quickest way to increase its intrinsic value, then the best financial decision you can make today is often reading an educational text or watching an instructional video or seeking out a conversation with a mentor, instead of spending those resources, whether it's your time or your money, on immediate low-utility consumption. The investment in yourself is the ultimate compounding asset.
The ultimate compounding asset. A perfect note to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the fundamentals of lasting wealth creation. Keep moving forward.